Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 14 of the Suffering Meatball Chronicles. My name is Rob Henry, and the other voice you hear is Johnny Epiphone.
Hi there.
Johnny is the leader of the band, and I just dubbed myself the drummer of the band.
The engine, the rhythm.
The engine, the rhythm, the backbone.
Yes.
The lyricist, the whiny one. I want my blue M&Ms. Stat. All right. On this episode of Suffering Meatball Chronicles, we're going to talk about a local festival that's been happening here in the D.C. area for many, many years. And Johnny and I have been fortunate enough to go to a couple of these festivals. And we're talking about the HFStival. HFStival,
yes,
which was put on by a radio station in town for many, many years, WHFS. It was on 99.1, but I believe in the
before
beginning.
That, 102.3.
102.3, yes. Yes. So the HFStival was an annual festival in the D.C. Baltimore area. It was held every summer from 1990 through 2006 by the radio station HFS. It was held again in 2010 and 2011 in commemoration of the newly defunct station's legacy. At its peak, the HFStival was the largest yearly music festival on the East Coast. HFStival was held at RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C. from 1993 to 2004 and at M&T Bank in Baltimore in 2005 and at the Merriweather Pavilion in Columbia, Maryland in 2006. A revised version of the HFStival was held in 2024 at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. Though not originally called HFStival, two earlier concerts held on the 4th of July were the foundation for the first festival and considered part of the HFS Festival.
Oh.
So,
I did not know that.
Yep, that's straight from Wikipedia. And these shows hold a huge place in my heart because, again, it was a big festival that did not tour. It was just local to the D.C. area through the radio station WHFS, which was, really the only alternative hard rock radio station in the DC metro area for many years. I remember listening to HFS back in the 70s when it was like a pirate radio station that my sister used to listen to.
There's a good documentary on PBS about it. If you can find it, it's called Feast Your Ears. The story of WHFS 102.3.
Yeah.
And I just watched it recently. Yeah, they started out. It's a really cool story. So you should check it out if you have the opportunity. The station is no longer with us, unfortunately. Well, it's not HFS. It's a Spanish station.
Yes, that's a Spanish speaking station, and I think it was in the interim. I think they tried to do some sports with that station, and it just didn't go over very well.
Oh,
I think from what I can remember, it's changed formats before it became the Latin radio station that it is now. But we're talking about the heyday, the 90s,
yes.
the 90s, the grunge. I mean, even in the early mid to the late 80s, they would have like a 2-hour radio station that would play nothing but metal on Saturday nights. I remember that clearly on HFS because no one else was playing Slayer and Metallica and Megadeth and Exodus and all the other great thrash and punk bands of that era didn't get any airplay, but HFS was bold enough to put it on Saturday nights, and it got so popular that they had to stop doing it because people were calling during the regular, daytime hours,
Slayer.
We're requesting Slayer, and that's not what the radio station was geared for. They had that one show on Saturday nights, And it was just, like I said, extremely popular, especially amongst us,
Metalheads.
crazy metalheads, crazy teenagers or 20 somethings at that time. So a lot of love for the radio station and a lot of love for these festivals. The very first HFS festival was held in 1990 in Lake Fairfax Park in Reston, Virginia. And I do remember seeing a show at Lake Fairfax, but I don't recall what show it was. And I know it was some type of festival, but I don't think it was the HFS festival.
I think it was Lollapalooza with Rollins and Jane's Addiction and
I don't remember. I just don't remember what it was. And I couldn't find a ticket. I remember bringing a lot of alcohol into the park that we weren't allowed to.
No.
We hid it in watermelon, and we made like this grain punch.
Yeah.
Back then they were so naive that they would let you just bring in a big like thermos jug full of Kool-Aid, like, oh, I've got my hydration for the day. And you could bring in food and have a picnic and, sit on the lawn and chill out. It was a lot more lenient back then. And I do remember never drinking grain punch ever again because it hit me hard.
Speaking of that, is Lake Fairfax still around? Is that still a thing? Or is it's in Reston, right? Is that still a thing?
No, well, the lake is still there, but they don't hold concerts there anymore. And if they do, it's very friendly, family friendly. Yeah. Bring the kids, see, some orchestra or whatever. I don't think they've had like a real rock concert there in a long time because people like us blew the chances for the future by bringing in watermelons full of grain alcohol. Yeah. Now, we were of legal age at that time, so we could drink. So we were just pushing it. And it wasn't, $14 a beer for a pint of beer back then. You know what I mean? They had beer vendors, but it was cheap. But if we were going to let us bring it in, we decided we were going to bring it in. It's kind of a lot like Wolf Trap, that if you bring a picnic basket and you have a couple little small wine bottles, they'll let you bring it in.
They're cool with that. Yeah.
Right. Because we're all older and you don't have the 20 somethings coming in to thrash out to some crazy rock festival.
Before the craziness of the what was the Woodstock festival where they lit everything on fire?
1999.
99, yeah. It was before that.
99. Yes.
For the craziness of that concert.
Yeah, we could talk about the Woodstock. Oh, was that 99 or was it 92?
I think so. It was 30-year anniversary.
Yeah, so it had to be 99. Yeah, that's I've heard some great stories. And there's a documentary on that as well, about how it all started with Green Day on one of the stages when people just started throwing mud and they got pissed and started throwing mud back. But we're not here to talk about, Woodstock 99. We're here to talk about our experiences with HFStival.
That's a tough word to say.
HFStival. I'm just going to say it that way.
Yeah.
The first time that it was at RFK in D.C. was July 3rd, 1993. And the big thing I picked up from the notes that I saw is that Iggy Pop did a set. And I just found out, that you were there, Johnny. You were there at this 93 show. Well, tell us all about it.
Okay. I just have vague memories of most of that day because it was a long day in the sun. But I do remember Iggy's set being phenomenal. It actually rained during his set, and the in front of the stage it became really muddy, and people were just slamming and being crazy. And the most amazing thing was, I remember I looked down and I saw a watch in the mud, and I was like, "Hey, somebody lost their watch." And then I picked it up and I looked at my wrist and I was like, "Hey, it's my watch."
That's funny.
Somehow my watch had gotten ripped off my wrist and I didn't even notice it. It was so crazy in that pit.
And you picked it up thinking, hey, I got a free watch. And it's
Yes, I
my
was like,
watch.
it's my watch, which no longer worked right because it got wet. It was some Russian surplus
That's
that was
hilarious,
supposed to
man.
be waterproof, but wasn't.
So Iggy Pop, this wasn't anything to do with the Stooges. He was touring by himself, right?
Yes.
So he didn't have the Ashtons behind him at this time, and they had not gotten back together, like, in 2012, I guess it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And we talk about that
yeah.
Virgin Mobile Fest.
I have his set list if you're interested.
Yeah, that would be great. Let me pull this up real quick and just say that we did a episode on the 2008 Virgin Mobile Festival. It's 2008, not 2012. And that is episode 3. So if you want to hear our shenanigans during the Virgin Mobile Fest in 2008, which had the original one, well, pretty close to the original lineup of the Stooges. But yeah,
the Ashton brothers with
the
Iggy
Ashton brothers, right.
And Mike Watt on bass. Yeah.
Right. So great episode. Go back and listen to that. But Johnny's going to give us a little rundown of Iggy's set in 93 at the HFS Festival.
Yeah. Well, he started out with the Iggy and the Stooges classic Raw Power, which just set the tone for the entire set. And then he went then he went into TVI, another Stooges classic. And then I Want to Be Your Dog, of course, another Stooges song. Then he reached back into his solo catalog and played Real Wild Child, which was a cover song that he had made his own. And then went back to the Stooges, No Fun. Then he played The Passenger, which is one of my favorite Iggy solo tracks of all time off the Lust for Life album. Then Search and Destroy, going back to the Raw Power album. Then he played Home from his 90 album. And then he ended his set. Well, that was Brick by Brick that Home was from. Then he played an epic version of Louie Louie. He's like, do you want to hear Louie Louie? All right, Louie Louie. And they did like a 10-minute version of it. And the heavens opened up and the rain came down and the mud ensued and the chaos and the mayhem. And actually a buddy of mine, Jeff from Philly, was at that show. He came down from Philadelphia. I didn't know him at the time, but I found out later that he had been at that show too.
Oh, awesome. I didn't get a full lineup of the 93 show.
I can tell you that.
Let me look.
Or do you want to?
I'm looking for the Wikipedia page. Let's see. 93 In Excess, Iggy Pop, Ned's Atomic Dustbin. Whatever happened to those guys?
I don't know.
Stereo MC, Belly, Matthew Sweet, The Posies, X, Veracity Girl was the last band that was on that tour. Do you remember any of those? Do you remember seeing In Excess? They were huge back then, dude.
Yeah, I went with my buddy Scott to that show, and we were so like burnt out from the day in the sun that we left about halfway through In Excess's set because I had seen In Excess before, and they were good, man. They were always pros.
Yeah, great live show from those guys. No matter where you were, they were true professionals.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. We did go to the 1996 show together.
Yes.
And that was at RFK Stadium. It was June 1st, 1996. And, I wouldn't normally go to a show like this. But my brother-in-law kind of conned me into taking him and some of his friends. They were in high school. So the parents said that they couldn't go. Or they could go as long as there was, someone there of
an adult presence
and an adult in the room, right? So I was there to be the adult in the room, and I brought you along because I knew that they were going to ditch me, and I didn't want to be there alone. And the first time I did keep track. At first, the first time, which I had did this a couple of times, but this was the very first time that I had taken Brian to a festival with his friends, and I did keep track of everyone, and we all hung out together and did the complete concert experience together because they were so young that I just, and the crowd was so big and the parents were relying on me again to be the adult in the room.
Yeah.
So, I did all those things and got everybody home safely.
And what I remember is compared to the 93, the first one, it was a lot longer. I mean, it started in the morning and went into the night.
Yeah, they
There was
opened
a
the
lot
gates
more
at
bands.
they opened the gates at like 11. They had the inner stage, which was inside the stadium, and then the outer stage, which was, a stage set up on the outside of the stadium, which was kind of
Yes.
chaotic because it was like right there in one of the areas where you go in. It was just a stage outside.
It was,
Uh,
by like the food vendors and stuff and
right.
the other vendors.
I do remember having good seats for that show. I couldn't tell by looking at my ticket stub because one of my other ticket stubs is kind of over the seat choice, but I do remember it being like side stage, and like the second level to where we could see the stage really well. And
Yeah,
we had good seats.
plus at that point they would just let anybody who wanted to go on the field go on the field.
Yeah,
They weren't being real strict about
that was GA. If you paid for a seat, you could go down and do the general admission as well, because they had plenty of room down there. But yeah, we were side stage in one of the lower tiers. And here's the lineup. Let me go through the lineup. Okay, so the outer stage was Gravity Kills, Fred Schneider, Girls Against Boys, Jimmy's Chicken Shack,
local
Dishwalla,
band.
yes, Guided by Voices, Solution AD, and Howling Maggie. And I remember you and I standing there watching Jimmy's Chicken Shack.
Yes.
And they did a killer set. I didn't really know much about the band, too, but I do remember that their set was full of energy and in your face rock punk show.
I remember Fred Schneider being really good. I was really surprised. The singer from the B-52s did a really punk rock set.
Yeah, man, Fred Schneider. And the inner stage was Goldfinger, Foo Fighters, Cracker, Afghan Wigs, Presidents of the United States of America, Garbage, Jewel, Jim Blossoms, Everclear, No Doubt, Lush, and Jawbox. Now that's a hell of a lineup just for any festival. But then you have all these other, bands that are up and coming on the outer stage.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing No Doubt. I didn't know who they were and I was like, "Oh, they're going places."
Yeah, and back to the Jimmy's Chicken Shack, they were a home band, hailing from Annapolis, Maryland, and became popular in the 90s with their, rock, punk, post-grunge metal style. They got a lot of airplay from HFS, made them really super popular throughout the United States. They had a really good career. And, I think they're still putting out music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they are, maybe not. I also remember the No Doubt set because we were sitting in our seats for that.
Yes.
And Gwen Stefani was just mesmerizing. Her voice was amazing. That's what I remember about that set. Was that, they did all the hits and then they did a couple, deep cuts, but the set itself was just amazing. I remember walking away with a newfound love for this band called No Doubt, who you heard on the radio, but man, Gwen Stefani, she was just amazing. I got to see them at least one time open up for she opened up for, I don't remember who the band was.
Damn. I was all
but
excited to hear she opened up for her.
She opened up for the guy, the bald headed guy. God, I can't remember their name right now, Johnny. They were huge. Anyway,
Live.
I'll cut all that out. I'll cut all that out. And also, Foo Fighters, another local band.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl. And that was my first time ever seeing Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl was a hometown guy who made it big with Nirvana.
Yes.
And at that time, the band lineup was Dave Grohl, Nate Mendel, William Goldsmith, and Pat Smear. So the Foo Fighters set list was Enough Space, This Is a Call, Winnebago, which is a Littell cover, Watershed, For All the Cows, Weenie Beanie, Big Me, Gas Chamber, which is an Angry Samoans cover, Down in the Park, which is a Tube Army cover, Good Grief, Alone plus Easy Target, I'll Stick Around. Great set by the Foo Fighters. I definitely remember them doing Big Me, and I definitely remember them doing Good Grief. And you and I were standing, on the floor, lawn,
right,
whatever area for this show at RFK, and I remember just being mesmerized by the Foo Fighters set. It was,
and
really
the song Weenie Beanie, you know how that came about was because the world famous Weenie Beanie was just a stone's throw from the studio that they recorded at, which was Inner Ear, Ted Nicely, Inner Ear. And
the Inner Ear studio. So Weenie Beanie was like a restaurant, or
yeah, it's a walk-up restaurant. That's
and they sold obviously they sold weenies.
Arlington, yes.
I wonder if it's still there.
I believe it still is. I haven't been out in that part of Arlington in a while, but we used to have an account for my old job that was close by there.
Dude, we're gonna have to look that up, and we're gonna have to go get some hot dogs from the Weenie Beanie if it's still there in Falls Church.
Inner Ear was in Arlington.
Yeah, we should take a trip, man. We should go figure it out. Next time on the road with the Suffering Meatball Chronicles.
Well, you know what else I remember about that show was Jewel set being cut short by a Frisbee. She was she was into her second song and got hit by a Frisbee and said, "Okay, that's it. I'm done for the day. They're not paying me enough for this crap."
I want to say I remember that, but not. I mean, it's there somewhere. I do remember her leaving the stage and everybody being upset, but I don't remember it being a Frisbee. So you've got a better memory than I was, because we were obviously standing next to each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And the 4 other teenagers that were there with us, that was cool. Really, really great festival. One of the, I just have a lot of good memories of that show. And then the next time, were you at the 1997 HFStival?
Yes, I was.
You were there.
I don't know if I went with you or not. I can't remember that.
I don't remember you being there for that one, because that was a totally different vibe than 96, right? At that point, the kids had realized that, hey, we don't want to hang out with the old man, and they ditched me. And I wore it as a badge of honor that I felt like I was one of the crowd since they ditched me, right? Because they weren't, it was my car. I paid for parking. I knew that they couldn't get very far. But I do remember hanging out with those kids for a good a good bit of time. And then once we got in and we made our way to the outer stage, they disappeared, and I was kind of on my own. And 97, we didn't have cell phones, did we? Or did we just have the flip phones? I think we just had the flip phones.
I didn't have a phone until well after cell phones became popular. So I know I didn't have one then. I may have had a pager.
Well, not, yeah, a pager. Probably we all had pagers. That's probably what it was. So, going into the show, I'm like, hey, at the end of the show, I mean, I see what's happening. I know what's happening. At the very end of the night, meet right here, right? Or meet back at the car. And you got till 12 o'clock for everybody to show up there, and I'm leaving. And they all made it there, or something like that, to that effect. Like I had to be the adult in the room. But this time they were leaving the room, and I was standing there being the adult in the room by myself. I do have the 1997 HFStival was May 31st, so Memorial Day weekend, really, right?
Yeah.
Again, it was at RFK Stadium in Washington. The outer stage was Squirrel Nut Zippers, Ben Folds 5, Third Eye Blind. They went on to be huge.
Yes.
Real Big Fish, Kay's Choice, Soul Coughing, Jimmy's Chicken Shack again, The Dismemberment Plan, and Pool.
I think Pool was a local band.
Yeah, I think Pool was a local band too. And Squirrel Nut Zippers is a ska band.
Yes.
But who would have thought that Third Eye Blind would be on the outer stage for a festival at this point? You know what I mean? They went on to be huge. The inner stage was The Prodigy. Man,
I remember their
Prodigy.
set.
Yes. Beck, Jamiroquai, Echo and the Bunnymen, Local H, Luscious Jackson, The Verb Pipe, Blondie, Kula Shaker, The Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and the Cardigans. So that was the lineup on the inside stage. And you remember Prodigy? You said you remember Prodigy's set?
Oh my God, their set was. I mean, it's not my type of music, but you couldn't deny the energy and the power that they brought to the stage. They just blew
that was a rock
stadium
show.
Apart.
They did. They had all kinds of great light show.
And Jamiroquai was also really good, I thought. I mean,
Jamiroquai was really good. And Jason Kay's stage performance, again, was mesmerizing. You know, I wasn't too familiar with the band Jamiroquai other than the radio hits at the time. And I went to look up a set list, and there's no set list for that performance at HFStival with Jamiroquai. Though I'm positive he played Virtual Insanity, Cosmic Girl, and All Right, because those were the big radio hits of the day. And I just remember it being a totally different vibe, you know. Echo and the Bunnymen played a really cool set and everybody was hyped up, but then Jamiroquai came in and just set the groove mood where everybody was just like, this is, you know, just the horns and the band itself. You know, I knew very little other than the radio hits, and then to see them do this stage performance, that guy JK was amazing. He just brought everybody in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were sitting in our seats at that point for Jamiroquai, grooving, sitting in our seats.
I remember being down on the floor. I remember being there. I remember being on the floor because I guess at that point it was toward the end of the night, and the kids had come back around again, and they're like, "You got to go see Jamiroquai." I'm like, "Why?" "You got to go see him." "Okay, let's go." So we all went. We made our way up. You know, we were like halfway there, and I remember having a clear view of the stage. And his performance, and the band itself was just mesmerizing. He just captured that stadium and drew everybody in, and everybody was like in a real cool, you know, groove. And then Beck came on afterwards, and he was huge. I don't remember much. I mean, I don't remember much, but I do remember his set as well. And again, I only knew hits like Loser. But what a great show. He's a very talented musician, and the band as a whole. And being so up close to the performance, again, Jamiroquai kind of set the stage, and then Beck came in and just like sucked
It was a
everybody
different
in
groove
again.
with Beck. It was a
It
more laid
was.
back groove than
It was.
Jamiroquai, which was just off the chain,
Yes.
as they used to say.
I mean, I do remember seeing a couple of performances on the outer stage. I don't remember I don't think we saw Third Eye Blind, but I think I saw Real Big Fish. And of course, we went back to see Jimmy's Chicken Sack because we had seen him the year before. But,
Right.
Ben Folds 5, I don't recall
I saw
seeing
them once
them.
open up for for Neil Young at Jiffy Lube.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was that with Crazy Horse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and Jewel was also on that lineup that night at Jiffy Lube.
Wow. So, although we haven't been to an HFS festival in years,
No.
one of my colleagues did buy tickets to the 2024 version of this, which was held at Nationals Park in D.C. on September 21st, 2024, which was cool, but it was a former shadow of itself. The Postal Service, Death Cab for Cutie, Incubus, Bush, Liz Filner, Jimmy Eats World, Girl Talk, Violent Femmes, Tonic, Filter, and Lit. And, he had some good things to say about the 2024, but some of these bands were kind of ghosts of their former selves. So, but he had a good time. And I've never seen a rock concert at Nationals Park. I've seen baseball there. I saw an all-star game there. I've been to like the Winter Wonderland thing at that
Oh.
park. But I've never actually seen a show, a rock concert there. But he said it was set up really well and they had a good time. And that was in 2024. That was the last HFS festival that was done in DC or the surrounding area. Because,
That's cool.
after they left RFK, right, they did, last year was 2004. And then I think they condemned that building or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's torn down now and they're building another stadium there in its place. But they moved it to Baltimore for 1 year. And again, Foo Fighters were the headliner, which shocker.
Yeah. And local
then,
boys made good.
Yes.
Well,
yes,
local
until recently. But we won't talk about that.
No.
That's none of my business. I hold no judgment. He can still play the drums and write great music. What he did is what he did. I had no control over that. And then they moved. Sorry. Then they moved the festival, the 2006, 2010, and 2011 to Merriweather Post Pavilion, which we have spoken about before, and we've both seen great shows there.
Yes.
And what a historic venue. But I understand from talking with people that have been there recently in the last couple of years, a lot of that surrounding area for Merriweather Post Pavilion is all now high rises. It's all now, tall buildings. It doesn't quite have the charm that it did before with the big trees and the sprawling, like you pull into the parking lot, it'd just be a field and then you just walk a distance. I think all that's gone now. I haven't had a chance to go there. I just haven't really seen any shows that I wanted to go.
When's the last time you went to an M3 show there?
2017, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
They still hold that festival there. It's a 1-day festival.
Yeah.
For those of you who are not familiar with M3, it's an I want to call hair band, but a lot of the bands were just from the 80s. And that's basically what it was. It was the 80s bands coming together to do a festival at Merriweather Post Pavilion. And we're talking about the M3 festival and a lot of great memories broadcasting that show. But the one memory that sticks with me is I got to see the original lineup for Queensryche with my wife in attendance in the audience while I was doing the broadcast backstage. But shortly thereafter, they disbanded.
Yeah, and then they jettisoned Jeff Tate and got their news.
Right. And then there was lawsuits, and now he's out doing Operation Mindcrime, both albums from cover to cover, which is cool. I would love to go see that show. I just, when it came around town, it was, again, like a random Wednesday night. So hard for me to do those shows anymore. But they did do a bunch of Mindcrime songs. Anyway, I just remember that taking that away, like, wow, I got to see one of the last Queensryche shows. And we did do a Queensryche episode, right, Johnny?
Yes, we did.
I think it was
one of our early episodes.
Yeah. One of our earlier episodes. You are correct. Queensryche, episode 2, Metallica and Queensryche. Had 73 views. We released it last July. So anyway, we're talking about the HFS Festival and our great memories of the HFS Festival with great bands like the Foo Fighters and Iggy Pop and other great bands like the Prodigy and Jamiroquai and
Blondie,
the Mighty Boss Tones and Blondie,
the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I said, and Third Eye Blind, who went on to be humongous and is still a humongous band.
Local H, who I remember seeing and being impressed. I think I had just maybe heard like their radio hit, and they were a 2-piece. They were a guitar player and a drummer, and I really liked them. I kind of became a fan of them after seeing them at the HFS.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, they definitely got some airplay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our memories of the HFS Festival in DC. It was, an institution for many, many years for WHFS to put this festival on. And they did it successfully for many, 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 many years. And a lot of people in this area that have, kind of grew up in this area or lived in this area at that time will tell you that this was the show to see every year. Everybody waited for the lineup.
Yes.
Everybody was buying tickets no matter what the lineup was, and you throw the Foo Fighters in there that were getting mega airplay, not only Nirvana and the tragedy that happened to Nirvana, but then the Foo Fighters afterwards. We all felt like we were part of that because, he lived in Springfield, Virginia. I think his mom still owns a house in Springfield, Virginia. I think he still owns a house in Springfield, Virginia. The Foo Fighters randomly play the 930 Club every once in a while.
And
he comes out. And the Black Cat, and he comes out and supports local music still to this day. So lots of fine memories of the HFS Festival. And, if you went to one of these shows and you have some great memories, then just drop us a comment. We want you to tell us your stories as well. Because if you were there, you probably remember Jamiroquai's set, which was just amazing.
And the Prodigy.
Amazing. And Prodigy and Beck. So that's about all I have to say. Johnny, anything else you want to add?
No, I think we covered it all.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And hope you have a nice day.
Bye.